This is Geek Gab with your host, Dornall, and me, Daddy Warpig. We are back, Geek Gab, for Monday, June 30th, 2025. We are, golly, almost exactly halfway through the year. And our guest today, we will have a guest today after I do a quick review of a movie, and before that, probably some of our normal typical yammering, and maybe a quick review if Dornall saw anything worth talking about. You didn't see anything worth talking about, did you?
I have not seen nor done anything worth talking about.
Okay. So, and there's no news you can think of, is there?
Interesting. We got some sad news for comics fans. Longtime editor of Marvel Comics just passed away. I'm blanking on his name. I just read it. It just happened, or just was published on the internet not long ago. You posted about it, Warpig. Did you? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I don't remember much of last week. It's been a bad week for me.
Oh, I saw the announcement today. I thought it was today.
Oh,
He was
no,
the editor for, thank you, Saved by the Chat, Jim Shooter.
Oh, I was going to guess that too.
Yeah. Famous editor. Don't know why I blanked it. I literally just read his name half an hour ago, but here we are.
You know what I love most about Jim Shooter's entire reign at Marvel Comics?
Tell me.
All of the slacker artists who, and I don't mean just like drawing or inking or coloring people, all of the slacker writers and other people at Marvel hated him because he expected them to produce quality work on time. And so they absolutely loathed him because he asked them to act like it was a business and not just something they could get around to when they felt like it.
A legend has it that on the day he was fired, John Byrne was walking the halls of Marvel whistling "Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead."
Yeah. And I felt like that was truly the sign of a man who was somebody to be admired, someone who kept people motivated, who kept them producing good work. And books that under his reign were getting canceled for terrible low sales are books whose sales figures would make them literally industry leading smash hits today. So clearly he was doing something right.
Wow.
And under Jim Shooter's guidance, Marvel was having a golden age. So he saved them from a disaster and brought them into a golden age, and he was truly a great editor-in-chief.
Well, rest in peace.
He will be missed. By readers, at least.
Yeah. That's all I got. Really, real life has floored me. I don't have much else to add. That would be positive. So let's talk about good stuff.
Oh, so we're just skipping the movie review then?
Good one. Talk to me, DW. What's going on?
I saw 28 Years Later.
Is that out already?
It's out. I think it was out last week. I just hadn't seen it yet.
If I had known, I would have begrudgingly saw it. Tell me more.
It's shot in a variety of really funky ways so that very expensive cameras and digital shooting can sort of emulate the really low budget cameras and film that they had in 2001, but it ends up making it seem like a art film aesthetic instead of low budget cameras. And it's done by the same people who did the original movie, Alex Garland, and I can't remember the other gentleman's name. One was writer and one was the director. And it comes across all of the film techniques, which are not badly done. They add a lot to the movie, and they're very interesting. They're very good looking, but they come across as an attempt to make the themes and the story of the movie feel more meaningful and insightful than it is by making it look like an art house film. So that you think, instead of, oh, I am watching a mediocre zombie movie, what you think is, oh, I am watching an art house movie with zombies in it. This is so deep. The movie is not as deep as it wants you to think that it is. And so it's not a great zombie movie. And 2001's 28 Days Later was a great zombie movie. The movie is not a great zombie movie, and it's not a deep and insightful movie philosophically. They dial back a lot of the zombie action in order to give time for what normally passes. I mean, let me put it this way, because I don't want to denigrate the movie beyond what it deserves. It is roughly 80 to 100 times more superior when it comes to character development than the vast majority of movies produced today. So I want you to understand the scale of what I'm talking about. When you compare it to anything in the Marvel Universe since Endgame, it leaves the Marvel Universe behind it in the dust, to the extent that if you were to map it to scale, you would have to include a map that could reasonably include fairly large pan-galactic megastructures. Because you have galactic clumps, and then you have galactic megastructures that include multiple galactic clumps such they look like stars. The difference between Marvel movies and this movies on character development would have to be mapped on that kind of scale. But that's still not great. It still doesn't reach greatness. It's better, but it's still somewhat stilted as far as character development goes. It's still somewhat bizarre and odd. And there is a sincerity, a lack of, it is not trying to force the viewer to agree with or adopt any given political narrative. But it's still not, it still doesn't naturally represent an innate understanding of authentic human psychology or relationships. They really are trying to understand and trying to depict what it would be like for a human being to live in a world, or at least, on this island, on Britain, that has been wiped out by these infected people, and all of civilization has been destroyed, and they're surrounded by death constantly, and they have to live 24/7 for 28 years, because that's the title of the movie, 28 years later. And maybe I should back up and reintroduce the movie, instead of just assuming what everybody knows what it's about. They're trying to authentically depict what that's like, but it doesn't come across as showing or feeling like these are authentic humans, that this is what humans might actually be in those circumstances. So let me back up a bit. Back in 2001, there was an independent movie, or an almost independent movie, called 28 Days Later, in which a bike messenger, played by Cillian Murphy, got hit by a car, goes unconscious at a hospital, and at the same time, a bunch of animal rights wackos invade a animal testing hospital or center, where the chimpanzees have been infected with a virus called the rage virus that turns them into rage-filled monsters who will attack you, bite you, tear your limbs off, and then they vomit blood. And it is a highly infectious disease. And if you're splashed with any of this blood, or if you're bitten or scratched even, you will, within a matter of minutes, also be infected with this disease. It's chimpanzee to human transmissible, and become the same thing. Your eyes turn red, you become violent, so on and so forth. This is called the rage virus. And you may notice this because this movie, although technically the people in it are not zombies, they do exhibit many of the same characteristics as zombies. This movie was, if not the originator of fast zombies, it was the popularizer of fast zombies. And it was deservedly a big hit because it was very well written. It was very interestingly shot. They made their low budget work for them, which is, one of the great examples of low budgets working for a horror or for post-apocalyptic science fiction movies, which this was both, zombie horror and post-apocalyptic. 28 days later, Jim, which is Cillian Murphy's character, wakes up and comes out into this completely depopulated world where most people are dead, and the people that aren't dead, the vast majority of them are these fast, I'm going to call them zombies from now on. You're just going to have to deal with it. A lot of people get upset at that. I do not care. And he meets up with some survivors, and they try to make their way through the countryside towards a radio beacon that was broadcasting that they have the answer to infection. And across the way, they find out that whole cities are on fire and the infected are everywhere, and it's very hard to survive, things like that. Very good movie, highly recommend it. They made a sequel called 28 Months Later, which had a much higher budget, a much dumber plot, and just was not a really good movie, did not do very well. So the obvious, and that was called 28 Weeks Later. And so the obvious sequel to 28 Weeks Later, which is 28 Months Later, never got made. And now, it's been 2001 when the first was made, and now it is 2025. They're making 28 years later in this alternate universe in which the island of Britain got completely wiped out. And as suggested in the first movie, one of the characters in the first movie suggested that Britain had been completely isolated and quarantined. And it turns out that that was true. At the end of 28 months later, there was something which suggested that the zombies had gotten loose in Paris. And it turns out that that outbreak had been stopped and turned back, and they managed to re-isolate Britain. So this zombie outbreak was completely contained to Great Britain. However, at the end of the first movie, they suggested that the zombies were all starving to death. And it turns out that between 28 weeks later and 28 years later, the zombies have this time managed to survive, and the virus has begun to mutate, producing multiple different types of zombies, reminiscent of the different varieties you would get in video games such as Left 4 Dead, or if you've ever played zombie video games, you know there are typically, lots of different types of zombies related to different effects that the creators of the video games want to achieve. Different ways of tormenting the players. Dead Island is another example that had different types of zombies. So, or Back 4 Blood. So, 28 years later, lots of these infected zombies. Humans, very, very little. England, civilization completely destroyed. 28 years of forests have regrown across the island. Buildings and things collapsed or collapsing. People are surviving with bows and arrows that they make themselves. They go out to cut down these trees for use as fuel. They survive off of hunting because vast herds of deer have once again regrown on the island. They fish. This particular community, and typically in zombie movies, you're focusing on a community. This particular community is on an island that is linked to the mainland through a causeway that is exposed only for 4 hours twice a day during low tide. When high tide comes, the causeway is buried, and so zombies can't make their way along it. Moreover, the causeway has big doors. The causeway is walled off, and there are huge, thick doors, and there is a guard post there with essentially, oh, dang it. What are those medieval siege machines that look like crossbows they have on ships?
The ballista.
Ballistas. They have a ballista on the guard post. It proving to be a highly effective weapon to shoot through the chest of a zombie. They have what they call alpha zombies, which are, like 6.5, 7 feet tall, big and muscly. That's one of the mutations, and ballistas will take care of them. And then you have several guardsmen, all of whom have bows and arrows to take care of the normal human-sized zombies. And so they do send expeditions out onto the mainland for deer, for supplies and gear. And they're being forced to go further and further inland because as they gradually use up the resources close to their community. And the rule is, if you do not come back, we do not search after you, because they don't want more people disappearing into whatever bad situation took the first patrol. It is a harsh rule, but as one of the leaders of the community says, it's proven utterly necessary. They have lost too many people sending them out to try and retrieve people who disappeared. It's just always proven a bad thing. So, a father, the community has a lot of different roles for people, one of which is the men who go out beyond the walls. A father is one of these men. His wife, her health is deteriorating. She is going through lucid and insane, sometimes violent spells. His son is turning 12, and his son is the only one who can calm her down. He's the only one his mother recognizes. She throws plates and other things at the father. She screams at him. She finds herself believing that she's a child again, and her grandfather's there, things like that. The boy turns 12, and even though the tradition among the community is that you don't go out beyond the walls until you're at least 15, the father has been training him his entire life to shoot the bow and arrow, to travel stealthily, to live off the land, to choose appropriate gear, and to use it well beyond the wall. So his father's decided it is correct, it is the right time to allow him to come along on his first expedition beyond the wall. This is the start of the movie. And they go out, they have some experiences beyond the wall, and they barely make it back to the wall, but they do make it back to the wall. This is a great sequence. It is a fantastic way to open the movie. I have no problems with it. There is a lot in this movie to enjoy, a lot in this movie to like. I'm not saying this is a bad movie. I'm just saying it is not as deep as it thinks it is, and a lot of the story as it has been put together is them really trying hard to humanize the characters and make the movie deep and moving and meaningful. I posted something last week, which I took from advice from a musician who is also a poet, an amateur musician who is also a poet. And the great irony about it's a quote from a book he wrote that someone else posted. The great irony about this quote from the book was that the man did not follow his own advice. So he's playing the guitar in a band, and he does this long guitar solo, and this guitar solo, he's throwing in a bunch of musical sections that were originally created by jazz trumpeters. By Miles Coltrane was one of the names he mentioned, and several other people. And it was awful. It just didn't work. And finally, at the end of it, at the end of the song, an old musician comes up to him and says, "Don't be afraid to be simple." And the writer in the book, this poet who is also a guitarist, says, "Those things which are natural to your implement," which includes the guitar, but also by inference includes the flute, but also painting, storytelling, and I mean verbal storytelling, but also novel writing, but also cinema, but also sculpting. Those things which are natural to your implement, which are simple, or as I heard another writer, it might have been Jerry Purnell, it might have been David Drake, I can't remember. They said that a simple story well told is one of the best things in the world. Don't be afraid to be simple, because those things which are natural to your implement are the best things that you can make. Don't overly complicate what you're trying to do, because you're going to be making something that's garbage. Don't be afraid of simplicity. The ironic thing about the paragraph, and it's an anecdote in a book of anecdotes, so it's a series of paragraphs separated by numbers listing them, was that the poet didn't make the paragraph simple. It was very convoluted language. He was being too florid in an attempt to impress with his language rather than impress the message upon the audience. This movie, it feels like they were afraid to be simple. They were afraid to tell the simple story. They were afraid to be a good, simple, straightforward zombie movie. Now, a good, straightforward, simple zombie movie could have maintained all of those human themes. I believe the writer, who is well familiarized with human nature, who understands human beings, who knows human beings, who even loves human beings in the Christ-like sense, who is kind and understands the foibles of human beings, but does not despise them for it, is not bitter at humans for it, will inevitably tell stories that are true to humanity, that will show their flaws and show their strengths, without being bitter or sarcastic or distorting them out of arrogance or condescension. I believe that what comes from the pen of such a storyteller will be true to humanity, the bad and good parts of it, and can tell a simple story that is true even in the midst of telling a science fiction story or a horror story or a fantasy epic. And they won't have to strain to do so. And they don't have to be ashamed of their genre. They can just work with the tools, work with the implement, and make something simple and straightforward. And I believe in the honest and sincere effort of the director and the writer. I think that it just wasn't connecting. And I'm not suggesting that was because of any malevolence or moral failings on their behalf. I just think that this story didn't quite connect. Maybe they didn't have enough time to go through as many drafts as they needed to. It just didn't end up as simple and as clear as it should have been, and that kind of wrecked the movie. Nevertheless, it's a noble attempt, even if it didn't end up where I might have wanted it as far as being a good dramatic movie. And what it did was it kind of took a lot of the humanity out of it, because I just, and I have this written down, and it's part of a longer work that someday may see the light of day. I happen to think that if you built a series of laws that were akin to Isaac Asimov's laws of robotics, but for survivors in a zombie apocalypse, that the first law of that would be kill every zombie you encounter except where it would threaten your own survival. I do not think any human in a zombie apocalypse after 28 years is going to be a pacifist, because pacifists will get themselves eaten. You cannot be a pacifist in a zombie apocalypse after 28 years, except that you die. Because you leave zombies alive, they're going to eat you. Sooner or later, that's going to, and I'm meaning this in an entirely non-metaphorical sense, that's going to bite you in the ass.
Yeah.
So I appreciate their attempts at making things human and trying to show the humanity of people, that humanity of people has survived, that there are people who are not insane or ravagers or raiders, that not everyone became, because sometimes in zombie movies, they make it almost seem like, the true enemy is man and all human beings are monsters. I appreciate it that they're trying to make it seem like not all humans are monsters, and that, it isn't necessarily true that the real monsters are humanity. But at the same time, I don't think they quite carried it off. I've seen in my review.
Oh, that's a pity.
That was deep.
That was a nice story though about the writer and the poet. Do what you're meant for.
And I've said something like that
Play to your strengths.
before.
Anyway.
Let the story be what the story wants to be. And if it turns out that what the story innately needs to be or innately wants to be is something you can't stand, then let it go. But I also have a firm belief based on lots of evidence, that if you're a good person, you don't have to worry about it, because you're going to produce a good story. And if you're timid or trepidatious about what the story is turning into, you should go ahead and finish it anyway, because you're going to find out that it is not, that your worries were misfounded. It is not what you feared it was. If you're a good person, trust yourself. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and always finish what you write. You're correct on that one.
Just let it be what it is. And if you're a good person, trust that, trust that the Spirit's with you, trust that God's with you, and that you're creating something worthwhile. So anyways, our guest is Brian Niemeier, who 10 years ago penned a book called NETHEREAL. And it's the, let me count real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th anniversary of NETHEREAL. What do you want to say about it?
I can't believe this. Like, I remember when we were sitting together talking before that book even came out. And I was just a noob. And to say a lot has happened since then would be a massive understatement. So I just want to say thanks to you and Dor and all our listeners and all my readers for letting me do what I am. Right? Letting me make a living telling you stories. So this campaign is my thank you.
What?
It is a heck of a
What
thank you, and you're
campaign?
welcome, by the way. And
The one link to the show notes.
The campaign. Hadn't you heard, Daddy Warpig? We have a 10th anniversary special edition of NETHEREAL. It's live on Kickstarter, and
Like right now?
Like right now.
And people who want to go check it out, the link is in the show notes.
They can do so by browsing to that website. Links in the show notes.
Awesome.
So I was finally browsing this today. This is a heck of a thing. So thank you for being an awesome co-host in the past and a great guest and writing a bunch of great stuff for us. And you're welcome, of course. And
Pleasure.
I was going through this, and you're going big this time. This is you're not just reproducing the book as it was originally. To spill the beans. What am I seeing here? What is all this great art? What are all these great things that I'm seeing here on the Kickstarter?
Yeah, what that is we are upgrading from selling Timexes to Rolexes. Okay, so there's other Timex. I have one right here. They're great, but for the 10th anniversary, I wanted to do something special. I finally have the means, again, thanks to all my readers, to better realize the version of the book I had in my head and wanted to do all those years ago. So we are going beyond just doing POD paperbacks on Amazon. I'm partnering with a dedicated printer, and we are producing hardbound, red leatherette covered with silver foil stamping, sheathed in a brand new dust jacket by rockstar artist Marcelo Orsi Blanco, in a larger, cozier, heftier 7x10 trim size. That's for NETHEREAL. Oh, and with, see Jaren's head poking up there, it launches with 4 original pieces of character art, with 2 more on tap to be crowdfunded. In fact,
oh, very nice.
Yeah, we are on the TEG art stretch goal now because we did fund today. Again, thank you to all our backers. and we are now funding the inclusion of Teg art in every copy.
Teg art, fan favorite character on the first stretch goal. He's hiding here. He's hiding here in the back. For those of you watching on YouTube, we got the Kickstarter page up. We're taking a look at it.
It's by the play button. If you scroll all the way down, I've got images of the stretch goals, so he's in there. But as everyone knows, Teg is a merc, so he doesn't get out of bed for free. So he's asking for 8K. That is his fee to make an appearance.
That's why he was a stretch goal, because he wouldn't be there for free.
Exactly. So right now he's upstairs, playing a little Undertale in his skivvies, just playing some Minecraft in between, just waiting for the call.
This is cool. This is cool. So I have to ask, is this a I hate to use the word simple. As far as the text goes, are you making any edits, any changes, any updates?
Yes. I'm doing a full revision of the text to weed out the errata that readers have helpfully sent me over the years. We are adding new end papers. The 9 circles cross-section, like Dante's Inferno map, is going on the papers on the back of the front cover and the front of the first facing page. We're going to have a spread there. And I'm going to do a all new introduction. Yeah, and new chapter headings. So, yeah, it's a completely luxe spruced up package.
Oh, I love that. And this is new to me. I'm not a big collector, or at least I haven't started this kind of collecting, but the red leather cover, that's premium stuff. Leatherette, my mistake.
I'm glad that's resonating with you, because man, that's what I really wanted to do was that. But also I should point out, not only is this a deluxe edition, it is limited. And it's a Kickstarter exclusive. Okay, so all the new stuff. This is the only time you're going to be able to get it. So for 24 more days, and then pending if we do like late pledges, that is it. We're doing a print run of it, and then we're done. So yes, you were correct. They are collector's items. I say they because I didn't just want to repackage an existing book, as pretty as that new package is. So I'm giving backers something new. We have, to go with the NETHEREAL 10th Anniversary Special Edition, a brand new Soul Cycle novella.
Okay.
Just wrote it, never before seen.
Absolutely brand new stuff.
Yep. And Kairosis, the new novella, answers the lingering question that I have left readers with through these 10 years of what happened to Jaren Peregrine at the end of NETHEREAL. You're going to find out in this book, and not only that, it bridges the Soul Cycle with its prequel series, the Arkwright Cycle. So it's not just a window, it's a doorway.
Oh, that's a great idea. So, which is funny. First of all, I just thought he died. I read the scene. I was like, oh, he got blowed up good. But bridging those two stories together, because that was a big question for me. I know that the character in the burned book, Almuth Elisine, is part of the Soul Cycle, but the connection isn't there yet. So this is your chance to get that connection right now.
Well said, yeah. And again, the novella 2, Kickstarter exclusive. Once this campaign is over, not going on Amazon, not going on my store. That's it. You can get both of them assigned. We are limiting the signed novels to 300, and then we have a signed and numbered option with a maximum of 50. So these are all the rewards. We're not adding any more reward items. Unlike in the past, all the stretch goals are for either enhancements to the books, like a silk ribbon sewn in bookmark, or the aforementioned character art, or they're for new add-ons, not main items. So all those awards on the right that you see there, like the main items in there, that's it. So the point is there's no reason to wait. Waiting only hurts you. Time is not on your side in this instance. So don't lurk hoping I'm going to release some other book or some other doodad. Like what you see is what you get. We might come up with some new bundles depending on how things go. But with as well as we're rocking it right now, maybe like one more, because my team informed me that one of our goals for this campaign was to unbundle everything. Like I'd frankly been picking my own pocket with the bundles in the previous campaigns, so we set out to fix that here, and it worked, at least so far. But I do go
how
on.
do you mean it worked? Yeah, how do you mean it worked?
Okay, well, this is our best campaign so far.
Really? Your
already
last one was huge, but you were already ahead.
Yeah, we've already made almost half of what the entire previous campaign did in 5 days.
Awesome.
Again,
This is great.
Thank God. Thanks to the readers. Thanks to you. Yeah, our last one grossed like 10,300, and now we're already almost at 5.
That makes me happy. I'm really happy because, full disclosure, I haven't backed yet. I'm definitely interested. At the very least, I'm interested in this new novella. That's cool.
Cool.
I definitely want some of that. But since you're talking about the tiers and everything like that, I haven't been in Kickstarter in a while, and tell me, assuage my sticker shock here. A hardcover book for quite a few bucks these days. Is that just the result of printing prices these days, or what?
It is partly a result of that. It is also the value added through scarcity, right? These are collector's items. We're never making them again after this. That's it. So, like, in the world, there will only be 300 of these. Think
Gotcha.
of Cameron's dad's Ferrari from Ferris Bueller. So there's that. And yeah, there's production costs. We're going with a for-real printer, which will do print runs. So again, we're not doing POD, like drop shipping. We are doing print us 300 of these. So that's got to be taken into account. But to just do the math for you, I sat down with a spreadsheet and tweaked the prices on each of these rewards until they paid for themselves, and they gave me a modest fair market profit of 50%. So that's my end. So basically, go up there, look at what the entire project is made, divide it by 2. That is what I get.
Wow. And so that makes sense, and we really appreciate some of that sausage making there.
That's what I'm here to do. I'm also here because I know fellow authors and aspiring authors are watching us. I'm here to help get them off the bench and into the game, and they need to be informed before they get in. So this is what we're doing.
Well, that sort of makes sense, and it sort of answers the lingering question that I didn't know I had, which was, the 50 numbered made sense to me, that there'd only be 50, but I hadn't cottoned to the fact that this was only going to be a limited print run for the regular hardcovers. Like, that's it. So that's interesting. That makes sense. Holy cow! The work a weapon is back. Now you're not editing. You're not changing NETHEREAL structurally. You're not adding any new scenes or anything like that. So what? So why should I work a weapon, Brian?
Because
if it's not going in NETHEREAL.
The work weapon and Be in a Book are going in Kairosis. They're going in the novella.
Did you say you already wrote it though?
Well, here's another sausage making secret. You always want to have at least the first draft of the book finished before you crowdfund. Why? So you don't have to wait a year to fulfill. So I go back and I add the work weapons and the Bina books in post. But when I write, I make sure to leave places in my draft or outline where they can be inserted. It's like Brandon Sanderson has talked about, like remember a bucket. Have I ever told you guys about that?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, he mentioned it on his podcast once that he was asked, well, what do you do if you just come to a dead end? Like you're writing a scene and you get to a point where you realize, oh, gee, well, some character or some plot device, some Rube Goldberg scheme needs to be here to resolve this conflict, but I don't know what it is yet. Sanderson's advice is don't stop, don't lose momentum, and agonize over the perfect conceit to go there. Just note it and move on, and then come back during your first round of revisions and add it then. Because chances are you'll finish the book, you'll know exactly what needs to go there. And he referred to Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, Bill and Ted 2.
Remember the bucket.
Yeah, they're having a time travel like duel with Chuck Anomalous. And yeah, they drop like 50-gallon garbage can on his head. And they have to remind themselves, okay, remember to place the bucket because we won. And that's what Sanderson actually does. Like he makes a note in the text, remember a bucket here.
That's
so
cool.
That's how I do these.
And I know I was putting you on the spot there, but your answer makes sense because I experienced that on previous campaigns.
Oh, gee, what are we looking at right there? Walk us through that on the right there.
Yeah. This was actually this illustration is my worker weapon from the last campaign.
And it's awesome.
It's really cool, and it featured in the last Burn Book story. There we go. And that was fun. We we took an old sort of idea I had for some magical glove that had gemstones in it that channeled different powers based on the stones that you put in it. Now, if that's starting to sound like the Infinity Gauntlet from Marvel, I assure you that I had the same idea when I was a youngster, having never read any Marvel books. So this is purely coincidence.
You can bring the receipts, folks.
But yeah, more to the point, it's when you, as part of the process, and this was even more apparent when we did the mechs back in your Combat Frame Exceed series, which was, hey Brian, here are my ideas. Can you actually use them? Like, I'm not wasting your time, am I? I'm not making you write a dumb cameo for something that doesn't fit, right? And every time your response ranges from, yeah, I could use it, to, oh, I've got the perfect spot for that, right? Like,
we
you
share
have
a brain,
buckets.
guys. That's what you have to understand. You and I share a brain.
It's actually uncanny.
One of the things I was thinking for people who were listening to the show who were not familiar with NETHEREAL, who hadn't maybe read it the first time or read the series, do you want to give them a quick description of the NETHEREAL, the book itself?
Oh, I can do better than that, because Dornall, we're looking at your screen, right? All right,
what can I show you?
I'm going to post a YouTube link into our top secret Geek Gab chat, and the picture is worth 1,000 words. A video is worth 10,000.
Great. This is only a minute long. I'm going to play it right here, if you don't mind.
I would love you to.
All right.
But Wes, tell it for me.
Did you guys get the audio of that? I'm sorry.
Nope.
My mistake. Just a moment, because I want people who are not watching on YouTube to at least get the audio here.
Intermission.
Bum, 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 bum.
So while he's doing that, the best description I can think of for NETHEREAL is something a reader told me, which is the cast of Firefly OD on the spice from Dune and come to on Cthulhu's couch. Okay.
Cthulhu's Couch. Got it. All right, I'm going to restart this and sharing audio now.
The last son of a murdered race, fighting for revenge. A precision killer inspired by his captain's dream. A woman like no other who longs for acceptance. The sublime brotherhood of steersmen holds the middle stratum in its iron grip. Jaren, last of the Gen, raids across fringe space with Nakvin, his best pilot and only friend, her apprentice Dame, and mercenary Tay-Cross. Hunted by the ruthless Master Malachi, Jaren and his crew join a conspiracy to break the guild's monopoly with an experimental ship. But when its maiden voyage goes awry, the Exodus flies farther off course than its crew could have imagined. Celebrate a decade of dark wonder with the groundbreaking first novel in Brian Niemeier's award-winning Soul Cycle.
There you go. I hope that answered your questions. Can we share that YouTube link with the world? Is that public now?
Anyone who has a link can, but because unfortunately that's a newer YouTube account that I spun up for the purpose of embedding that video. I am not allowed to post links. So I don't know how much good it's going to do, but that's like it's not privated or anything.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Like if you want, you can email me after this, and I can just send you the MP4 file.
We'll make sure that people who want to check it out later will be able to after the show, one way or another.
Hey, I'm here to make things easy.
That's it. Space Pirates Go to Hell. That's what I always called it.
Oh, there you are. That works too.
Gosh, where were we? I lost my sharing of the page too. No big deal. All right, so Brian, you wrote the Soul Cycle. We know that, from anybody who's talked to or interviewed you before, know that Soul Dancer was sort of your first book, or the first thing you wanted to write, and you did this whole Soul Cycle series. How does it feel going back to that? You sort of went back to it doing the Burned book, but you're still writing a different story, and you sort of, 10 years is a long time, and you sort of you wrote the end of the Soul Cycle, and you didn't ever have to go back. So, what's it like? How do you enjoy it? How do you feel about it?
You know those dreams that you have when suddenly you become aware of yourself and your surroundings, and you're back in school, okay? And the knowledge floods in that, oh no, there's this one class I took at the beginning of the semester and only went to like a couple of lectures, and it's had the big final, the big term paper that's worth like 80% of your grade, and it's due tomorrow. It feels kind of like that.
Wow.
But I'm riding the wave. Like I'm taking that kind of high wire act. Like, oh man, can I do this again? Can I slip back into this world and do it justice? And like, yeah, let's go. I'm letting it fuel my writing, because I know that as an artist, what I want to say has evolved over a decade, right? So Could I just go back and rewrite NETHEREAL from memory? No, but I don't want to. And I really doubt my readers want me to either. So Kairosis is going to be, yes, it's in the Soul Cycle, but it's going to reflect my growth and change as an artist over the last 10 years.
Awesome. Man, I don't know what else I want to know. I've read the books. I know what's going on here. I'm really excited for this novella. That's great to getting the 2025 Brian's take on 2015's setting, and man, doing the deluxe covers, that's cool. I'm not surprised more people don't do that, because there's a big cost in producing these things, but there's a market for book collectors, and if NETHEREAL is still, and this is just a prediction, if NETHEREAL is still getting views and buys and things, another 10 years from now, people with that book are going to look back and be like, yeah, I knew this was going to be a great series. Like I knew this was worth having a copy of.
Well, you flatter me, sir. Yeah, let's hope, right? And I can do my best, right? I'm doing my utmost to bring that future about.
This cover, I know you mentioned Marcelo a couple times already. This cover is dope.
Thanks, man.
Is that the plan for the back cover? That all it says on the back? Because I love that.
Yes. That is the back cover. We've already proofed it.
That's cool. The only way back is through.
Yep.
That's cool. I can't help but notice that you chose as your little avatar for this chat is the bad guy.
We are talking about pretty much everyone in that Drew Struzan Final Fantasy XII style collage being pretty darn evil. So that I don't want to go all nihilist modernist, but that is, I'm not gonna say it's relative, but there are shades and degrees. And if you look at it from the point of view of like a lawful neutral character, he's the good guy.
I'm glad you brought up alignment. We have a Combat Frame Exceed game. Do we have a Soul Cycle game yet? I mean, I know you do, because you've written on your blog and talked on the show about how you game out military encounters with your buddies on the weekend, just to get the writing as true to character as you can. So are we going to get to see any glimpse of that anytime?
That is a definite possibility. Yes, I've got a homemade Soul Cycle TTRPG system. It's percentage based, but from GMs and gamers who are even more experienced than I am, like not approaching DW's level, but close. I'm informed there's a game there. It is not remotely ready for prime time yet. What I'm going to need to do is just hire a game designer to come in and a lot more play testing, which could give rise to opportunities for folks out there, much like with Exceed. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah,
we'll see.
Oh yeah. Well, that's cool. I'd definitely be looking forward to that. I'm, you know me, I'm always down to help as a game tester. I look forward to whenever Daddy Warpig comes bouncing ideas off of me. He's definitely the designer out of the two of us, but
oh yeah. Out of the three of us, because I'm definitely not. I'm just I'm a word processor jockey with some ideas, but as you may have noted from some of our other interactions, I do not have a very tactical or rules-based mind. It's just I'm too INFJ. I'm too intuitive.
Gotcha.
I'm like, what's with all these numbers? There are too many of them. I'm mad now.
Yeah, and well, you've got a couple of good playtesters that really feed off of that, and one in particular, when we were playtesting a card game, is just casually broke the game in 2 or 3 different ways in a playtesting scenario. So
Yeah.
you've got some help.
I do. Yeah, that dude. Shout out to my buddy Brent, who's been a huge help along with you. And he's like, I think now the consecutive 2-time back-to-back Gen Con Magic the Gathering World Champion.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I believe so. So, yes, that is what I'm up against on a weekly basis, because he's also in my own weekly game.
That's some stiff competition.
Yeah, luckily he's nice.
I think, I got everything I need to know about the Kickstarter. I got no questions in the chat so far. Daddy Warpig, what else do you want to know? Warpig's on mute. I must.
Well, if you want to actually, something you guys might be interested in, I did see a movie.
What? It'll be like old times.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tear up.
I just had to go and do something normal. I've been working. I've been killing myself working on this campaign for like 6 months. So at one point, I just had to go out, touch grass, and then do something ordinary humans do. So I saw the new Karate Kid.
Oh yeah?
Yes.
Who's in it?
Well, Jackie Chan, Ralph Macchio, and there's another name that's going to be a big spoiler, so I'm not going to say it. But it's in a post-credit sequence. So we got that to look forward to.
And John Wick. Yeah, I remember hearing about. No, I'm kidding. That would be awesome. That'd be hilarious.
Yes.
I know Kung Fu. I know karate.
That is the plot of this movie. You guys haven't seen Karate Kid Legends?
I have not. Yeah, what'd you think?
I really went in wanting to like this movie because I saw the trailer and knew immediately what they were doing with it. Like they're going to try to, like, in canon, square the circle and officially cement the link between the Han School of Kung Fu and Miyagi-Do Karate. Because you guys remember the story that Mr. Miyagi tells Daniel in Karate Kid 2 about how the Miyagi family learned karate?
Vaguely. I remember that. Yeah, there's the... Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, well, I was leaving the floor open. DW probably knows, but yeah, so an ancestor of Mr. Miyagi worked as a fisherman, and one day he had a little too much sake on his boat and fell asleep and got blown out to sea by a sudden storm. And he wound up getting blown all the way to mainland China, where he made the acquaintance of the Han family and, like, married one of their daughters. And while he was there, they taught him Han-style Kung Fu. And then he went back to Okinawa and sort of alloyed the Kung Fu he'd learned with more Japanese and Okinawan styles, and that's Miyagi-Do. So Miyagi-Do has this descent from Kung Fu, like, directly.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and so I remembered that the previous Karate Kid movie that Jackie Chan starred in had nothing to do with karate, but he was a Kung Fu shifu, and he was teaching
Jaden Smith.
Yes, thank you. He was teaching him kung fu. Well, it's the same character, and I knew they were going to do that. That they're going to, and they make no secret of this. Like, it's not a spoiler; it's in the trailers. That they've brought Jackie Chan's character Han into canon with Mr. Miyagi and Daniel and Johnny and Kreese and everybody.
All right.
And so it's official that style of kung fu which Jackie Chan teaches in like the movie he starred in is the school of kung fu that Miyagi-Do karate is descended from.
Okay.
Which I was cool.
I'll be honest. I actually liked the Jaden Smith Karate Kid movie.
It's not bad.
Taken for what it is, it's a good movie.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I kind of got to say in some ways it's better than Karate Kid Legends because, well, I just spent a lot of words saying I know what the movie makers were trying to do with the new one. This is one of those movies where they were maybe 1 or 2 drafts off the mark.
Mm.
And it was way too rushed. They needed more room for characterization and plot development. There's a lot of just, and then this happens, and then that happens, and then that happens, with like no connective tissue, or not enough.
That's too bad.
It is. It's not awful. I like the lead. There are some good fights in it. The one thing I found kind of annoying was they kind of Scott Pilgrimed it up, like with I don't know what would have been rotoscope, but nowadays CG effects, like glaringly painted onto the foreground, right? Like animations.
Oh, that's strange.
Yeah, and it's obnoxious. It really draws attention to itself.
That seems strange.
It's a strange choice. Yeah,
That's like exactly the opposite point of a karate or any martial arts movie.
Yeah, you're supposed
Right?
to be wowed by the choreography and the stunts.
Yeah, and those are strong enough in this movie to have carried themselves, but it's like they didn't quite trust the audience because every time there's a new fighter introduced or like a scene change, we need this like squiggly, almost graffiti tagged looking animated title card to come up and tell us what's going on. It's really overstates its welcome.
Oh, it's the Grand Theft Auto trailer effect.
Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you. Yes. I don't quite know how to describe it.
Yeah. Well, that's just awful. I mean, it works for Grand Theft Auto because that's what Grand Theft Auto is. That's their whole
Right.
shtick. It's the cover of all their games, but
Yes. And it
well,
wasn't quite,
that's too bad.
yeah, it wasn't quite enough to ruin this movie. I would say this is a rental. I would not recommend, unfortunately, paying to see it in the theater.
Yeah, if you're gonna go to the big screen, it's got to be better than a TV movie.
Yeah.
You know, we want real stunts. We want real action.
Yeah.
And Jackie Chan's getting up there in age. Does he do any stunts?
Oh, sure. I don't think it's like they tried to stop him, but they couldn't. There's at least one obvious scene wherein they clearly had to bring in a stuntman because the way they set up is he has snuck into someone's house in the dark and he's wearing like dark clothes and a ball cap and the lights are off to hide the stuntman that's actually doing the kung fu for him in that scene. But no, he does some stuff.
Cool.
Yeah. So does Ralph Macchio. He's pretty impressive in this. But the lead, I forget the actor's name, but he is really good because this time I do appreciate that they didn't just tell the same story over and over. I think this is the only Karate Kid movie except Part 2 that doesn't do this. The main character is already a martial arts expert at the beginning. his challenge is not to learn from scratch, but to overcome a rather fresh trauma, a family trauma that has left him with a mental block that is impeding his personal development.
Huh. Well, that's a nice change.
Yeah, and to help get him over it, they enter him in a karate tournament. But the problem is he knows kung fu. He does not know karate. So they have to teach him a crash course in karate in like a week.
Oh, and so they teach him Miyagi-Do karate, which already has a lot of kung fu in it.
Bingo, he's already got the fundamentals.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, that makes sense, at least. That's...
Yeah.
That's thought out. I mean, that's not something that... Was that really their intent in the original... In the Jaden Smith remake, is that Mr. Han was part of the family that helped create Miyagi-Do karate or helped differentiate it?
I don't know. That's a great question.
I mean, that's like hilarious. If I don't know what's more impressive, that the writer of that movie actually intended that, or that the writer of this movie went back and just pretended that that's what they meant. I don't know which one is more clever.
Yeah, tough call. I mean, one is amazing foresight, the other is amazing improvisation.
Yeah, I can guess which one seems more likely to me.
I mean, they're both. Both of those are ways writers have to come into a project and make something that doesn't really make sense in a series work. If you're hired to work on somebody else's material, then you're like, okay, well, I have to make this work. Let's do this. And so they both take creativity, coming up with an idea that you wouldn't think of ahead of time. So both of them are really impressive. The ideas, at least, coming up with those ideas are really impressive. Because I've had to do that before, and it's not easy. And usually the only way to do it is just let it sit there until the idea occurs to you. There's no way to put that sort of thing on fast forward. You just have to let them simmer. And I guess people who are talented enough to be able to come up with those things quickly, that's the only way to really, I guess, do it quickly, is just suddenly immerse yourself in all the background material of the universe that you've been hired to work in, to where you read or watch or whatever, all of it, and hope that something... that one of those juxtapositions occurs to you while you're immersing yourself in it, that you can see, oh wait, these two, completely different, distant parts of it can fit together this way and save my butt in trying to fix it. And you just gotta kind of pray that there is something like that in the material, because if there isn't, then what you're reduced to is, pulling it out of your rear and hoping the audience forgives you for it. So, all right. I don't have anything else today. Do you have anything else, Brian, before we go?
Just two obligatory things. One, thank you both again, Dornall, Daddy Warpig, listeners, chat. Two, go back to the NETHEREAL 10th Anniversary Special Edition. Go get it. You can put your own reward together, because we're doing everything a la carte. You just pick the main item you want, and then you can customize it with the add-ons, because pretty much everything is also available as an add-on. So head over to Kickstarter, the link in the show notes, put together your own reward. I mean, come on, guys, this is my 9th one. you know I'm good for it. You know you're gonna get your swag. So I look forward to entertaining you.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to see the results. Thanks for coming on, Brian. Thanks for everybody for hanging out in the chat. Hope everybody enjoyed listening to that. Rawl in the chat. We were talking about Karate Kid. Don't forget about the Power Rangers suits. Hide the stuntmen.
Oh,
Um,
that is blown.
Anyway,
I will have this to say for anybody who's an independent writer who includes previous books in their Kickstarter. You have to decide for yourself, but I have generally seen that selling previous books with your Kickstarter as a bundle can get people to buy them who would not be able to afford them generally, but they have also been very very much underpriced from my point of view. People undervalue it. So I would not say don't ever use bundles, but I would say don't treat your bundles, don't price your bundles to completely throw away your old books. You wrote them, you put a lot of effort into them, you probably paid for covers and editing, so don't treat that as throwaway material. Don't flush your books down the toilet. So however much you want to charge for them is fine, because it really is at some point a book series that you're not selling any copies of. If you're getting any copies sold as an add-on for a Kickstarter, that's money that you wouldn't be getting otherwise. And that's fine to remember.
100%.
But if you are selling copies of those books, selling the entire series as a 99-cent add-on is probably drastically undervaluing it. And you might look at giving people, instead of a 90% discount, giving them a 50% discount, or whatever that maintains the value of those books. It's just, and then there's also, one of the virtues of selling a bundle is to make it so that your Kickstarter makes more money, which pushes it towards more stretch goals and makes it seem like your Kickstarter is doing better than it would be just based on how many people are pledging for the main item. And pricing add-ons too low, having add-ons at all does help that, but pricing add-ons too low doesn't help that as much as it otherwise would. And I can't give you simple advice that will fit every single situation. It's just going to have to be your call. And really, this is just my reactions based on being a buyer in a lot of Kickstarters or Indiegogos or whatever, or just looking at Kickstarters from people that I otherwise honestly couldn't afford the add-ons, and I just had to stay with the main item. That does not mean those add-ons were priced inappropriately. Those add-ons maybe were priced perfectly appropriately, and that person made more money than they would have if they had priced them within my budget level, because my budget level was really low. So making money sometimes means pricing it so that some people can afford it. And that's just a reality. You never want to price your books so that everybody can afford it. There's a reason why, designer handbags cost so much. It's that they wouldn't be as valuable if everybody could buy one. And so you have to have a realistic assessment of the value of your books and price them so that they sell in appropriate amounts according to the value of your books, and so that you get a good momentum going in your crowdfunding, because crowdfunding is not a series of individual transactions like buying a book on Amazon is. Crowdfunding is a group purchase of a project, and you want to maintain the momentum throughout the entire project such that not only does it get funded, that's not your goal with the crowdfunding. Your goal with the crowdfunding is to get funded in such a way that it maintains the momentum all the way through, so that it is funded with as much excess funding as you can get. Your goal with crowdfunding is to get as much excess pledges as you can get, and then to have a reasonable amount of extra pledges that keep up the excitement, that don't, and this is very important, that don't waste all that excess money. You want, rewards and reward levels to be priced such that they increase your profit percentage, not that so that you're making even more money, not that they drain your profit percentage. Some people have had great Kickstarters that brought in a ton of money, and that brought even more money in because of the reward levels they planned. But then they found out that they didn't have enough money to be able to fund all the reward levels they included. And so they end up making nothing. They lost money on the Kickstarter. They lost money on the Indiegogo because they poorly planned their reward levels. So, and I got into a slightly different topic, but all of those are kind of intertwined.
You're spitting facts.
Yeah. You got to plan out your Kickstarter such that it keeps the momentum going, and that everything you do brings in even more money with an even higher profit margin, and pricing bundles appropriately is part of that really complicated mix, which is why having someone who's had multiple successful and profitable Kickstarters under their belt as an advisor, if you can find them, if you can know them, is a great idea when you're doing your first couple of Kickstarters. And someone like me is not a good advisor because I've never planned and carried out a Kickstarter. So I've never done the behind the scenes logistics. I've never been able to set up rewards like POGs. Obviously that's a facetious award, but I couldn't tell you where to go to have POGs produced. I have no idea what companies make them. I have no idea how to make contact with them. I have no idea who's a good supplier or a bad supplier. So I would be a terrible advisor but I can give you good advice to tell you, hey, you need an advisor. You should get an advisor. Don't just sail off into the dark on this. And I'm also giving you good advice for the sorts of things that you maybe haven't thought of that you need to think of, that these are important things to keep in mind. Because I think a lot of people come into a Kickstarter and think, okay, I have got this project and I need to get it funded. That's a great start, but you should be looking towards a little bit bigger outlook. And if that's all you can do with the Kickstarter, that's fine. You have succeeded at your primary goal, but your goal, you should have other goals in addition to that. And even if you don't make them, that's okay. You got your project funded, and you should have made profit based on your funding goals. But there's other goals you should keep in mind and other challenges you should keep in mind to that. And all the times I've talked about Kickstarters, I've tried to give people good advice. And I think my advice on these has grown and expanded over the years as my understandings of Kickstarters have grown and expanded, watching successful ones succeed and buying into Kickstarters and seeing what I've gotten and seeing what I've been able to add on and not add on. The last successful Kickstarter I was really bought into was the heavy metal first issue of the new heavy metal magazine relaunch, and just seeing what add-ons I was able to buy or was willing to buy at the price point they included them, which is a couple of back issues from the original runs when it was a good magazine and not the sort of modern audience that the new owners kind of slipped into that failed, that killed the magazine, which is why they're doing a relaunch of the magazine under people who have said, no, that was stupid. We're going to be trying something different. We're going to be trying more towards the old-fashioned heavy metal. So I have seen a lot of Kickstarters over the last decade or 13, 14 years, actually, going back a long time. And I'm hoping that the experiences I've had as a buyer, the experiences I've had, what has led me to buy more stuff and what I've seen has been successful in this space can be directly given to you to say, here are things that I have been able to buy that have led me to buy more, that have led me to, that I've seen or heard. You know, I've listened to authors, I've listened to role-playing game designers, I've listened to magazine and comics people talk about their Kickstarter experiences, and I've listened to them, and I've tried to analyze what they've said, and I'm kind of presenting you with a distillation of some of that advice that I've heard and been learning over the last, I think it might have been 15 years now. So there are specific things I can't give you advice on that I'm suggesting you get an advisor for, but there are very specific things I can give you advice on, and I would encourage you to take it on board and then go seek advice from other sources, and not just listen to what I'm saying, but go seek corroborating advice or go seek advice from other sources from different points of view, because that will stand you in good stead. And let's go ahead and answer this last question before we go.
Merg Magler Maxis asks, what's a good sales pitch for NETHEREAL for a guy who has a problem with the implicit nihilism or religion bad material and themes in Berserk?
Oh, well, that would be that NETHEREAL is like Berserk meets Star Wars, but more theologically sound than both. Because I don't know if you're new to the show. These guys have discussed it with you before, but in addition to being an author, I'm a trained theologian. So, no, you're not going to find nihilism in NETHEREAL. It's dark, but life can be dark and ugly, but just as God only allows evil in real life, because and to the extent that greater good can be brought about from it, you can think of the main conflict in NETHEREAL as like the cleansing forest fire, right?
What if J.R.R. Tolkien had been born in 1973 and grown up reading science fiction and anime or manga and watching anime and decided to write Space Pirates Go Through Hell? That's what NETHEREAL is.
And that is a huge compliment that I'm only going to take because we're friends. Putting me like comparing me at all to Tolkien, but yeah, in a general thematic way, that's a decent description.
I mean, if you like, you can substitute C.S. Lewis or G.K. Chesterton or, any one of these. And G.K. Chesterton might actually be a really good comparison, but
yeah, because he wrote mysteries.
Yeah, any one of these authors with a strong grounding in Christianity or morality or virtue and wickedness, people who have a knowledge of humanity and human nature and a knowledge that there is good and evil in the universe, and had grown up in a time with science fiction and anime and manga, and decided, you know what, I want to write something where people who, some of whom are virtuous, some of who are less virtuous, and they go through this difficult series of painful events, and it's them going through sort of a Dante-esque version of hell.
Yeah, to put it in a cosmological frame, NETHEREAL is not a religion bad story set in a universe bereft of meaning. Okay, it takes place in a parallel cosmos wherein the creator did decide to produce a Manichaean, a dualistic universe where evil has substance, with the intention of, well, if evil is its own substance, then it can be destroyed, right? It's not this parasite on the good, which can always infect good as long as there's good around. It's its own separate entity. It can be triumphed over. And showing that what he missed was the inevitable ultimate conclusion of that is, well, if evil is its own parallel substance, why choose good over it? Because they are then equal. It puts evil on an equal footing, right? And also, religion is not portrayed as bad. Like, there are religions that are bad or flawed to one degree or another, but in the soul cycle as a whole, man's need to acknowledge and render worship to a reality higher than himself is portrayed as an unmitigated positive good. And in NETHEREAL, we see the devastating effects of that light of faith, of that hope, being stripped from the populace en masse. And it leads to disaster. So hopefully that answers the questions. I am Breb.
All right. Well, we really do appreciate the last minute question. But unfortunately, we are more out of time than usual today.
We are very out of time.
So,
quick shout out though to Raul Nyanzi, Simon Hugwood, and Raymond Solar in the chat. And Merg, you're welcome. Sorry, I'm done.
We're going to be kicking off. This has been Geek Gab for Monday, June 30th, 2025. I want to thank everyone who tuned in live, participated in the chat. We want to thank everyone who tuned in later. Geek Gab's here just about every Monday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, and that time is specific. And you can get us on youtube.com/geekgab. Once again, that's youtube.com/geekgab. You can also catch us on on SoundCloud.com, the Google Play Store, and the iTunes Store. Just do a search for Geek Gab. Download us on the device of your choice. Listen to us on your computer, or listen to us on the web, save us onto your computer, so you can get us anywhere, any when, any which way you like. Folks, we are signing out for today. Don't you worry. Don't you fret. We will be back.